surrounding that, one of the stories surrounding that today, and I'd love to go to Giuseppe first on this, is talk that Arsenal have again reached out to Bruno Guimarães' camp, and he appears to be one of the lead favourites to help bolster Arsenal's midfield. Is that exactly the type of player you think you need to be adding this summer?
Yeah. Bring him in. I think he's quality. I think he's a dog. I think he's a bit of a scumbag. And I think, like I say that, I think that's what we need in that midfield. I think we got because Declan Rice is a tough player, but he's not a scumbag. And I know that people might take that as negative, but I think you need that in league-winning teams. I think most with league-winning teams have that sort of player in their team that can do that and be a bit like down and dirty. And I think Bruno Guimarães just would complement Rice in the midfield so much with Odegaard ahead of them. Like, I really rate him a lot. Like, I really do. And I know I wanted him personally before Newcastle got him. And we didn't get him. And we were looking at him. And he went to Newcastle. Now, to come in, I think it's less of a risk because we've seen him in the league. We know what he can do. I think he's the perfect midfielder for us. The only person that could make me sway away from him is maybe a De Jong. But I think that he's the perfect midfield signing for Arsenal in the summer. Personally,
he ain't leaving, mate. He ain't leaving. De Jong ain't
why?
leaving.
You got why? Why?
Who's going to pay salary?
De Jong ain't leaving.
Who's
He's got 500k salary. He's not leaving.
Who's going to pay that guy 500k? He better stay.
He's only on 500k there because of other circumstances to do with the club.
That's what I'm saying.
He's sitting comfy though.
But that's what I'm saying. Are you going to? Is he going to take a pay cut to 275, like to become? Or are we going to pay him 350 grand? Like,
and he's
like
what are we saying here as well?
Let's be honest about it. So
it's not all about money for all players. We've got to remember that it's not all about money.
Yeah, but for some of them, it is.
He's a massive favourite to go to Manchester City.
Yeah,
he's a huge favourite to go to City, and I think if he's going to go anywhere, that's where he'd go.
To be fair, if Bruno did go to Arsenal, he'd look at like Kai Havertz's money and be like, "Well, I'm better than him, so whack on another 50." So he's probably going to end up on 400 anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, what is the difference between 400 and 500k?
I look at it this way, right? Newcastle United are trying to grow and move forward. We have to look at the fact that there is reportedly some FFP issues. They might end up deciding to sell I don't know if they own their training ground. Maybe they're going to sell their training ground or their stadium or a hotel, back to themselves the way Chelsea have. If Chelsea have, outside of that, they may need to sell somebody. Equally, I don't think Newcastle are yet at a position where they can stop people from going. I don't think that it was different for City. City had at least 4 years, maybe 5 years with no FFP. Chelsea had about a decade where they could build the squad, pay out huge amounts of money and establish themselves. Where Newcastle, I know they made it into the Champions League last year. They did tremendously well. They've leveled out a little bit again this year. Still had a good season, I think, if you look at their last 20 years combined. I still don't think they're at the position where they can stop some of their better players from going. Very similar when City signed Robinho. We all knew Robinho weren't going to spend the rest of his career there as an example. There's still that element of, do I want to stay? Do I want to go? I think if Arsenal come knocking, this is where they'll be sensible as well, Newcastle. I think the Arsenals and the Man Cities will turn these heads. And when a player's head gets turned, clubs that are run well sell players. Because you don't want someone in the dressing room that doesn't want to be there. It's never, ever a good mix. And I think if Arsenal get a Bruno Guimarães, we've seen them obviously linked to Frankie de Jong. We've seen Zubimendi, who isn't as well established. I just look at Arsenal and think that, plus the strikers they're linked to, the Siscos and the Isaks. I mean, they're not going to get Guimarães and Isak. They're never going to get two out of Newcastle. And I think only one of those two is going to end up leaving Newcastle this summer. So it depends which ones they prioritise, which is why maybe Arsenal are now looking at Sisco, if you look at the news, because they may think, well, we would prefer Bruno to Isak. So that's why, that's why people go, oh, but the media said something different a few weeks ago. Well, that's because the world fucking changes, bruv. It's, it doesn't stay the same every week. Relax yourselves. But I think if Guimarães goes to what you were saying earlier, Kate, about them being miles ahead of everybody, if they bring in someone like him, it's just going to be very hard for other people to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I agree. But like I say, I don't see him going there. City have made contact, and I think they'd choose City. But if they get him, if Arsenal get Guimarães, I will probably be sick again. All I seem to do you know what? Being a Tottenham fan ain't fun. You're just sick as a pig 99% of the time, and you never win nothing for it. I'm just going to put it out there.
Kate, City came knocking for Declan Rice as well. Remember that?
Yeah, but did they really want him that bad?
Yes, they did. They put down 100. They put down 100 million. They put
this
down
might be an
100
unpopular opinion, but I think Arsenal is more. I know this might sound wild, but I think Arsenal is more of a head turn right now for certain players than Man City. And the reason I say that, and the reason I'll say that, because Arsenal are really on the cusp of doing something crazy, like winning the league again, or maybe bringing the first, maybe not yet bringing the first Champions League to the club. And there is a lot of players that look at that sort of success and say, that's so much more than winning a league at Man City. And then if you're looking at stuff like Pep Guardiola leaving in 2025, you've got these players might start looking at it like, do we want to go to not all players? Of course.
If we're talking like the super team,
but if we're talking about like the top players of the world, that's it. If you were talking about an Mbappe or someone like that, that's different. They'll pick City any day of the week. But when you're talking to someone like Bruno Guimarães, I generally believe, he would pick Arsenal over Man City. I generally believe that.
You say that he's got a chance to do something incredible like win a league with Arsenal. He could go to City and be part of winning a 5p.
Yeah,
I still don't think that's as big.
Sorry, Giuseppe, let me just try. If you don't mind.
No.
For an individual player, listen, obviously a 5p is incredible, and as an achievement, it is, but there'll always be the same metric if Bruno goes there. It's not him that's done that. It's Pep Guardiola. They've got Haaland. They've got this. If he joins Arsenal and we finally get over the line, he's now that final puzzle piece that got us over the line. He's a major factor in what's made us win the league.
I think what Giuseppe, I hear what you're saying, right? See, that becomes a personal thing to the play. Like that's a personal thing for a player.
Yes.
If a player just wants to win, if they just want to win and it's all about winning, they can easily just go to City, be part of the system. Don't worry about playing time. Sit on the bench. If Pep wants you on the bench for 16 games and only wants to play you like Riyad Mahrez for last 5 games of the season, do what you need to do, win and have that. If you just want to win, if you want to be able to say as a player personally, like, you know what, I went to this club when they were not winning and it was because of me that. No, I'm just saying that's an individual thing. We don't know what Bruno Guimaraes' mindset is, so I don't think he's going to pick a club based on his on anything more than what's best for his career, which is, am I going to get a lot of playing time? Am I going to be able to win first and foremost? And if that's the first thing, then that's City. Am I going to be able to win City? Yeah, okay, good. Let me go there first. Am I going to get enough playing time? I think I might get more playing time with Arsenal than City, which is more important to me. What is the difference in my salary? What exactly am I going to get out of this? If winning is not the biggest thing, like having 20 trophies, even if all I have is 2 FA Cups and this, I'm satisfied with that. The player, some players have that mentality. Then he would say, "Oh, let me go to Arsenal and let me just go to a team where I get paid enough. I get to play because I love playing, not because I'm really just like, you know, the players who just love to play, who want to play all the time."
This is my rebuttal to that.
It's all a personal thing. So I just think it's a personal preference thing for a player. So
a lot of these top players that you're talking about, and this is the rebuttal I'll say to that, is they don't care who's at that team. They will be like, I'm going to play for that team. I am going to start.
I agree with you.
If it's Rodri, if it's Bernardo Silva, if it is Phil Foden, some people might say, even if it's Haaland, I don't care. I want to start. Those are the mentality of those kind of players that the likes of your Arsenal or your Man City would want to attract.
And I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, sometimes players make a move because they look. We've heard it many times. Someone like Cole Palmer, for example. Cole Palmer would have fitted into the City team perfectly, but what did he do? He forced the move. He forced the move because he knew he wasn't going to get playing time, and that was what was making the rounds in the media. The rounds was he wanted more time to play. He wasn't going to get enough playing time, and he chose to go to Chelsea. That was a team that is of young people being developed at the same time. But because he knew he was going to get more playing time, and look at him, he's like, some people bet on themselves. That's what I'm saying. That some players can bet on themselves and say, look, I don't mind making this move because I know I'm good enough to get this over the line. Now, that's a different type of mentality. I'm not saying that's Bruno's mentality. I'm just saying if City come and Arsenal come, it now depends on what the player wants preferentially.
Yeah, look,
that's what I'm saying.
I love listening to this because you obviously, from an Arsenal point of view, I think that the point holds water. For some people, I think Dio's spot on. It's personal. There are some players that will look at it and say, Arsenal play brilliant football. I want to go there and be part of a team that breaks a 20-year hoodoo, wins the first Champions League. It's a huge thing. There'll be some that will say, you know what? City is the sure bet. I'm going to go there because I can get those medals at this particular moment in time. But we look at it this way. As a Man United fan, we have sold that dream to a lot of people, being part of a rebuild and or a team that can break the hoodoo. Hasn't worked. Harry Kane this summer went to a team that, wouldn't it be ironic, right? If Man United win the FA Cup, and everybody said at the beginning of the season, why would he pick Man United over Bayern Munich? He's not going to win a trophy at Man United. He would definitely win one at Bayern Munich. And I know that's one season and it isn't a complete body of work. But that's why I think both theories hold water. City have got massive pull and they're hugely attractive. But I think if sold right, some players would prefer the Arsenal project. And Declan Rice is a prime example of that. He looked at it, he weighed it all up. He had the options either way, and he chose Arsenal. Now, only time's going to tell whether that's right. If he ends up when the time he's 32 with one Carabao Cup, no league titles, he might look back and go, Jesus Christ, that I should have gone to City. I'd have been part of all of this history. And listen, I always wonder if I know he won a Premier League, but I always wonder if in his deepest, darkest moments, if Alan Shearer thinks that. If he'd have joined Man United instead of going back to Newcastle, that man would have a very different, he's got a very good English legacy. But that guy would have had a world legacy if he'd have joined Manchester United and scored all those goals in title-winning teams. So it's a really good debate.
Slightly different. It's slightly different with Declan Rice, though, because he's an Arsenal fan. So it's playing for the club that you've supported all your life. But
that's what I'm saying about player preference, though. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what club Bruno Guimarães, like,
Tottenham.
you know, no, Kate. It's great. No, hold on. Sorry, David. Sorry, Kate. It's funny you say that, though, because if Tottenham also came knocking and he chose Tottenham over City, no, listen to this, and he chose Tottenham over City or Arsenal, and then we find out that he's a Tottenham fan, I will not be surprised because that's player preference, and that's all I'm saying. It's like, look, at the end of the day, I could choose to be on the best winning team and be part of something great and have this cabinet full of Champions League and 5-peat and all that and have the badge on my jersey and tell my great-grandkids, oh, look at what I did. Or I could be like, man, some of the best football I ever played in my entire life was with Arsenal. I didn't win a lot, but man, I remember this game where I took this guy. Like, people have different preferences, right? At the end of the day, it's about the club wanting to win. The club has to have the mentality to win and be able to get those players to win. Me, you know,
I think that kind of thing does for me. And when I've looked at how football has been since I was a kid until now, those kind of players that go for like loyalty is very few and far between. Like you had your Tottis, your Bonucci, or even
but Ram, I don't think this is about. I don't think it's about loyalty. It's about what motivates you. And this is the thing. I'm not sitting here and saying Arsenal per se have more pull than City. But I am going to sit here. And by the way, the amount of transfer summers I've done on the terrace, this club won't sign anyone. There's no way this player would reject. I've seen every single club, good, bad, or indifferent, get rejected. Do you know, if you'd have said to people before the summer started that, rightly or wrongly, City fans are probably happy you did, that Maguire would reject City for Man United, you'd have gone no chance. But it happened. So I think to sit here and say that it can't is crazy. There's a few super chats I want to do here. We've got a very strong Brazilian connection in the team. Could be a pivotal point for him choosing Arsenal over City. It's a fair point. Oral Campbell says City could end up without a trophy this season. Very, 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 very unlikely. We're going to get onto that in a minute. Biggest draw Arsenal has is London. It's true. It's a great city. Kane did win a trophy, albeit a cannon. Kate, Declan Rice is actually a Chelsea fan.
Apparently so. So I apologise. I always thought he was Arsenal. So yeah, apologies. I'm getting lots of abuse. So that means didn't know.
That means we have some pull. Arsenal got some pull. Declan chose us.
Hey, London pull.
This here says that Joe Linton is the only baller at Newcastle.
He's whack.
No, Ram.
I'm not having this. I am not having this. We can find a lot better. Arsenal can find a lot better
No, of course, but he's not whack. Like as soon as you said, you know what, you said whack, and I just thought about this kid in my high school that was always on the bench. And the one time we allowed him to play in the first team in a high school competition in semi-final, he scored against us. You play for us. How do you turn around and fire a shot at the goalkeeper saying you're passing back? Like, that's whack.
Level, he's
like
whack.
don't give him that kind of. He's
yeah.